A few weeks ago, I discovered the YouTuber Daniel Schiffer, and this guy makes the most epic food videos I've ever seen. So I said to myself, you know what? I want to do that. Let's give that a shot. Get it? Shot. Welcome to the channel, my name is Dylan, and today we're going to try making some epic food B-roll. So for the past 3 weeks, I've actually been practicing by making some kind of food item and a video to go along with it. And while these videos have turned out okay, they just aren't that epic. And I think that's mainly due to the lack of planning on my part. Fortunately, Daniel Schiffer himself recently posted a video about how he plans his shots and transitions. So today I'm going to give his process a try and see where that takes me. Before we dive into the plan, I need to choose something to make, and for that I have this flower book. Also, my brother's graduating soon, so I'm thinking we can make some kind of cake as part of the celebration. Ooh, this one looks pretty good. Lemon raspberry cake. It even says it's good for graduations in the description, so that's actually perfect. So for the actual planning process, there's 3 steps. The first step is to list all the ingredients and objects we're going to be using. Step 2 is to associate all those objects with a set of actions, and step 3 is to combine those actions together to make an actual shot sequence. So to get started, I'm going to make a list of all the tools and ingredients we'll be using. We've got some cake pans, some bowls, some spoons, a knife, a spatula. On the ingredients side, we've got butter, baking powder, flour, lemons, salt, eggs, raspberries, vanilla, milk, and of course we'll have the final cake once we make that. Step 2 is to take all these objects and associate actions with them. So for things like pans and bowls, it might be cool to take them and slide them in from the side. We could also roll them or try to spin them. For other objects like spoons, knives, and spatulas, we could try to flip or toss them. On the ingredient side, we've got liquids like oil and milk. For these, we could pour. Similarly, flour, salt, and sugar can be poured, or we could sprinkle them. Solid items like butter or eggs can be tossed and flipped. Eggs being cracked would definitely look cool. We definitely need to get a shot of the raspberries being placed on top of the cake at the end too. Now we're ready for the third and final step, which is to take all the objects and actions we've laid out and combine them into a final shot list. This is where we can take all the options we've laid out in the previous steps and narrow it down to some candidate shots for the final video. Also, this is just a list of ideas and we can adapt it and improvise upon it while we're actually filming. So for this first shot, I'm thinking we want to introduce all our characters, so it might be cool to have all our ingredients off to one side, and we start by panning across all of them. From there, we want to move into the first step of the recipe, which is to mix together some butter, oil, and sugar. So since we're already looking at the ingredients, we might as well reach down and grab the butter and lift it up. The recipe only calls for 3/4 of a stick of butter, so that gives us a good chance to feature the knife, which we can use to cut the butter. Now, since the previous shot ends with us lifting up the butter, which will most likely involve a camera tilt up motion, we'll probably want to start the next shot with another camera tilt up motion, and that can be lifting up the knife. After we lift up the knife, we can bring it down and cut the butter. Next, we want to get the butter, oil, and sugar in a bowl. I'm thinking we can use the downward motion of the knife to transition into a downward motion of the butter dropping into the bowl, followed by the oil and then sugar being poured into the bowl with similar downwards motions. After that, the ingredients want a second bowl for mixing together flour, baking powder, and salt. So for the second bowl, it might be cool for us to slide it in from the side like we were talking about earlier. Although the previous shot does end on a downward motion, so it might be better just to bring the bowl down. We could try to incorporate the bowl side by placing down the bowl and then sliding it, and then that would give us some more motions to play with after. After this, we'll want to put in the flour, baking powder, and salt. I'm thinking if we end off a slide, we can try to keep that sideways motion and move around some of the ingredients and mask that out, and then when we come out of the other side, it'll turn from, say, pouring flour into pouring salt. After that, the next step is to grab some eggs and mix them in. Since we're already doing these sideways motions, maybe we can use a sideways whip transition and shift the focus over to the eggs. Once we're at the eggs, which will be grouped with the rest of the ingredients on the side, we can probably just use a similar upwards motion as we did with the butter, transition to cracking that on the side of the bowl and pouring it in with the rest of the ingredients. So next we want to mix together all the ingredients and make the batter. I think it might be cool to show the batter at different stages, so we can take short clips of the batter at each step and then fade one into another until it becomes the final form of the batter. Now once we have the batter, we want to pour it into 3 separate pans. So for this part, it might be cool to split the screen to 3 parts, one for each of the pans. The step after this is just putting the 3 pans into the oven, waiting 30 minutes and taking it out. So instead of showing all of that, maybe we can take the 3 screens and then lift them up one at a time to reveal the readied cake being taken out of the oven. The next sections in the recipe tell us to make a lemon curd and a buttercream. I don't know what either of those are, but the instructions seem pretty complicated, so I'm thinking we can just do those off camera and take those as given so we can spend more time on the cake itself actually being made. Okay, so after the cake comes out of the oven, the only remaining steps are to spread the buttercream / lemon curd mixture in between the layers of the cake, put some raspberries, and spread frosting on the outside. So what I'm thinking here is we can show a shot of us spreading the lemon curd buttercream mixture onto one of the layers of the cake, and then maybe drop some raspberries out of the hand onto the cake, and then we can show a shot of the final completed cake to wrap up the video. Okay, that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions, leave those down below in the comments. See you in the next video.